Welcome to the Modern Assyrian on AGN. My name is Carmen Morad. Our special presentation today is on the Assyrian Genocide exhibition at CSU Stanislaus in Turlock. My special guests today are Dr. Erin Hughes, Director of the Sargis Modern Assyrian Heritage Project. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. It's our privilege and honor to have you on this very important project that we are going to discuss today. Our second guest is Dr. Ruth Kambar. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Carmen. I'm glad to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you over. And last but not least, our friend Kathy Sayad Zatari. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you, Carmen.
We have had discussions and conversations on this very important project. It started before COVID, as everything else has, and we are coming closer and closer to the date of this exhibition. And I am so excited to finally see it come to fruition with a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication and planning. And I'm going to ask Kathy to please start us off with a brief history of how this came to be, who the organizers and players are, and then each and every one of you can take it on what we can expect to see in this incredible exhibition.
Okay, Carmen, I'll start off a little bit with how I managed to corral all these wonderful people to work with me on this. As you know, 2 or 3 years ago now, I was very interested in setting up an Assyrian genocide exhibit with one of the focuses being the artifacts themselves, the evidence of what was left, family heirlooms, people's photos, they're actual items that survived the genocide that have been handed down through the generations. And as I got this idea, Carmen, you were kind enough to reach out to Stan State University. And we spoke and corresponded with James Tudio. And it was at that time I started kind of rustling up people that I knew in the Assyrian community whom I thought would be just wonderful people to participate in this and guide the program. And that's what led me to Professor Hannibal Travis, and sorry he is not here with us today, wonderful Assyrian scholar, and also to Dr. Ruth Kambar, who will be explaining so much more about all the work that she has done with family histories and speaking to the families and the descendants of survivors. And then finally, we make our way back to Stan State with Dr. Erin Hughes, the head of the Modern Assyrian Project, Sargis Modern Assyrian Heritage Project. And all of these people, thankfully at the time, were very enthused about getting involved with this. And so I decided to strike while the iron is hot. As they will tell you, they each have different specialties and areas of focus, and they've each brought so much to this exhibit. I'm just the chief cook and bottle washer here, and what you will learn in this program today, the majority is going to come from Erin and Ruth, who have added the substantive portion of this exhibit, and again, along with Hannibal Travis as well. And those folks jumped in. Cal State stepped up, helped us obtain a grant from California Humanities. And then we were off to the races and started our work seriously a couple years ago. I think that's kind of a nutshell of how we all got started.
Yes, that is the gist of it. It sounds simple, but we know it is not. There is so much work that goes into this, and we're so appreciative to CSU Stanislaus under the leadership, of course, of Dr. Alan John and Dr. Tudio and the wonderful Erin Hughes. Dr. Erin Hughes, I've had the privilege of communicating with you. We're the only ones who are actually right now in Stanislaus County in Turlock, but Kathy, you being Arizona, and Dr. Ruth Kambar being in New York. So, and Dr. Hannibal Travis in Florida. So What an amazing group of scholars, of a think tank, I want to say, to bring this amazing project, this exhibition, this affirmation of what people went through. We are descendants of genocide survivors. And you have so appropriately titled this exhibition, Tell Our Stories. I'd like to ask you who came up with this title, because it so humanizes what individuals, people, mothers, fathers, grandfathers, grandmothers, uncles, aunts. It's about the people, and each and every one of them had a story. Dr. Ruth, I would like to start with you on how these stories come to life, how you were able to collect a lot of what you want to tell us about today, about pictures, clothing, books. Please share with us what your role has been in this amazing project.
So, Carmen, as an English teacher, I love story, and I appreciate how important it is to tell everyone's stories. A story unheard is not a story. And so, in order to remember, we need to hear those stories, especially when they come from our own people, because they live the experience and we're living the aftermath of that experience. And some people, depending on where they're from, are still living it. And so, in order to hear from ourselves, all right, those who experience, rather than have someone else tell us their impressions of what we've lived through, of what we experience, and look at our artifacts. It started with a family collection of my own. But as I started to reach out and as people started to hear me speak, they contacted me to contribute to this exhibition. And so people sent me photos of their families. I even used, believe it or not, Ancestry.com. Didn't have people from Philadelphia at one point. So I searched Assyrians in Philadelphia and just started emailing and messaging people, asking, hey, have you heard about this project? Do you have any photos? And then I asked them to tell me the story around the photos that they shared. Clothing, if they've given it. I can tell you that some of our donors are anonymous. And I even had the privilege of running into Anonymous and meeting Anonymous one night and realizing who she was. But we're a tight-knit group. We're all connected. And these stories are what connects us. And our artifacts of these stories need to be shared. And so I received many photos from people, and I tried to create storyboards around those stories. And so I might focus on one particular person who is the center of the family, the person who sent me the material, and then write a story around that. And so that it's very rare to just have one photo on one incident. Instead, I'll have several with a narrative that will go with that story. And it'll fit in with our thematic areas of the exhibit. So I particularly focused on diaspora and all of us in diaspora.
And the intention of exhibitions and commemorations and, proclamations, resolutions, any affirmation and education, we are trying to not just remind ourselves, for those who are familiar with the atrocities of genocide, what has led to diaspora, correct? Whether it's different conflicts happening to our people, different reasons why our ancestors left our homelands. But what an opportunity to teach non-Assyrians in an academic and scholarly way through expression of art, through expression of exhibiting items that are so meaningful to a person, to a family. I know, Ruth, you are very connected to your grandfather. Tell us stories about what it meant for him to leave this impression on you, that you want to make sure that others understand the importance of paying attention to what their stories were and listening as their stories are being retold.
So, as you know, Carmen, I'm the eldest grandchild in my family, and very often our elders are not listened to, and they repeat themselves. They tell the same stories again and again. I was really interested, and I was that child who really paid attention to my grandfather, and I thank God that I did. He lived to 102. He was from Siri in Urmia, and he was very proud of our heritage. And he would sit me down all the time and start with, "This is who we are and what we are," and tell me the story. And so many of his stories seemed grossly exaggerated. I didn't believe all of them because he was a storyteller. But I came to learn through time that I actually can verify so many of these stories that he told us. And he had a way of interweaving different texts into a family story. And he commanded the audience at a table. This wasn't a formal conversation. If he could get your ear, he wanted you to know who he was. And it wasn't just me, it wasn't just our family. But he would pick up books by missionaries that he had that were in the family for almost 100 years. And he would share these books. He would pull out family Bibles from Armenia Press. He would pull out clothing. And I've only recently learned that he wore one of the sets of clothing, and it used to have a sword, but apparently that sword has gone missing. But he was showing it to cousins. But I would bring educators to his home to meet him because I'm friendly with sixth grade teachers. And in New York, the sixth grade curriculum teaches ancient studies and Assyrians, and they're taught that these people don't exist. And so in one evening in particular, I brought over a couple of teachers, and my grandfather was so pleased to be able to share these stories. And these stories are even about walking to the ice house and describing Urmia and the path he took. And his brother also was a prolific writer and kept all these family memoirs. So I've learned a lot from those as well. And I piece it together. I reconstruct the family history because, as you know, we're in diaspora and we've lost so many pieces. And then I'm still learning every day. And I wish I could even share with him what I've learned. But the best I can do is put it out there for others as well.
Thank you, Ruth. You know, this is in such contrast of what we were told that when the early settlers came to the United States and settled in diaspora, they never wanted to tell their stories. There was so much pain, there was so much trauma. And for years and years, a majority of them, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but they were told to keep silent or it was just too painful to talk about these stories. And so after all this time, you know, it's been over 104 or 5 years now since, of course, World War One with the Ottoman Empire, but we have had so many conflicts and so many stories that are continuing to be told. And you being, of course, Ruth, a published author, an educator, an English teacher, you know about telling stories. So I want to thank you for taking this awesome responsibility and to most of us an obligation to partake, to tell the stories, and to continue to leave this information for generations to come. And I also wanted to make sure that our viewers, not only are they aware of this exhibition, but to know that they can come to CSU Stanislaus. And when I, you know, reach out to Dr. Hughes about more logistics, but this is a temporary exhibition. These items and artifacts are not going to be stored there permanently. That's very important. So we want to invite those who are interested to see about these stories, artifacts, and how well CSU Stanislaus is doing this. Dr. Hughes, please jump in and tell us the role that CSU Stanislaus has assumed, and as a project manager, I believe. Please tell us what this means to the university and how you want people to come and visit and learn and be informed.
Yeah, I mean, your question, what it means to the university, is just our absolute honor and privilege that we get to share this incredibly important history with the local Assyrian community, but with the broader community as well. We are thrilled to be displaying it in our art gallery. So just logistics, it will be housed in our university art gallery on our main campus in Turlock. The program, which is in the theater building, there's a parking lot right in front of it. The program itself will be in an adjacent building called Snyder Recital Hall. It's one of the bigger buildings in the art section of campus. So our programs on July 1st and July 2nd to open it will be in there. And the art department has been just so incredibly helpful with helping kind of lay out how we use the space. I'm not an exhibition curator myself. I'm very new to this. So they've been really invaluable in how do we arrange this. And Ruth mentioned she and Kathy Hannibal have just done such a brilliant job of kind of thematically grouping these family stories together and finding ways that we can tie it into, the historical narrative, and kind of use these examples of getting married in Bakuba and things like that to kind of exemplify that history and make it tangible and make it personable. So, how we lay that out and how we walk through it and navigate and use that space has been so helpful. In addition to just giving us the space and support and financial support to have, to have these programs and to use this space. So we're incredibly, incredibly grateful to that Kathy and you brought this to Stan State so that we're able to share it.
Thank you so much. I also understand the Assyrian Arts Institute is involved, and the one and only Nora Lacey, she has always been available through expression of art, Assyrian art, to be presented by Assyrian artists. And please tell us about the artists that she will be flying in for this very special exhibition.
Kathy, do you want to take that, or do you want me to talk about it?
Okay. Well, actually, Erin, I would defer to you because I think most of the discussions, the contracts, et cetera, for the artists, those have been university discussions with Nora. I will just say basically that she's just been so supportive, and what she is going to present us is going to be something that the community is going to be very proud to see. And then I just asked Erin to maybe jump in with a couple specifics here.
Yeah. So as part of the exhibition, they've hand-selected themselves a couple of pieces that fit with the themes that we're showcasing. So about the diaspora and memory of diaspora, generations on, but also themes of resilience, the genocide, and themes of diaspora and themes of resilience. So I think she selected works. She's brought work from Hannibal Elkis, Paul Bateau. I so apologize to anyone's name I'm mispronouncing. Ninos Tabet, Naren Malki. So a couple of just such incredibly talented artists that we're just so excited to be able to feature in this exhibition. So they've, like you said, Nora's just done an incredible job, and we're so grateful.
Yes, she has. So walk us through, for example, on July 1st at 6:30 p.m., what do we expect to hear? How long will it take? And I understand July 2nd, there's also more speakers that will also more stories. And then after that, there is a gallery tour, correct? Go ahead, Erin.
Okay, sorry, I don't want to jump in. Yes, so on July 1st, it starts at 6:30. The exhibition will be open throughout all of the speaking programs and after, so people can tour beforehand and afterwards as well. But we're so thrilled to have Hannibal, of course, doing our keynote on the 1st, which is just incredible because he's going to, talk about the history of the genocide, and he's such one of the preeminent scholars, of this history. And then we're also going to have a couple of presenters talking about their own family history. So we're thrilled to have Sarah Bennett, who will be talking about Isaac Adams, one of the first settlers in Turlock. And then David Armstrong, the author of Dragons and Violins, will be talking about his grandfather's story as well. It's incredibly powerful, and we're so excited to have both of them. And then on the 1st, we're so thrilled to have Ruth speaking and talking about diaspora, and she can probably give a bit more about what she's going to talk about. And then Dr. Ariana Shaya is also going to talk about the genocide and diaspora's legacies from that. Just incredible collection of scholarly and family histories kind of fused together, which fits so very well with the way we've approached this exhibition.
So we have a lot to look forward to. And then July 1st and 2nd, we will hear from our published authors, scholars, and then the exhibition continues all the way to August 7th, correct? Tell us what you have planned for the closing of this incredible exhibition.
Yes, well, we are still finalizing and confirming our events, but we know it will be August 7th. It'll be most likely in Snyder Recital Hall again on Stan State's campus. It should be probably 2 to 4 p.m. We anticipate that Ninos Tabet might be able to speak, who's an incredible Iraqi Assyrian artist who Nora Lacey, as you mentioned, is arranged for him to come to the U.S. and hopefully speak at our closing. Kathy will be doing closing remarks, so we're thrilled about that. And then there's a couple of other speakers that we're working on confirming that. I don't want to overcommit them, but before we have their own confirmation.
Beautiful. As I have been speaking with, I mentioned earlier that we all attended the Syrian National Policy Conference with the Syrian Policy Institute, and Kathy and Jenny Elias were there. Kathy was there, Ruth, Dr. Ariane Shaya, and there was a very candid conversation, and it was regarding this exhibition, and it was very moving to people. And there were some incredible old movies, and I want to say from 1937, Ruth, I believe, that you showed. It was captivating to see Assyrian families mostly from Iran, I want to say, that were in Philadelphia and Yonkers and Chicago and Connecticut, I believe. What an incredible collection. Ruth, tell us about how you actually came in possession of those, and if there's anyone watching us that somehow inherits or comes into possession of such incredibly valuable artifacts or videos and pictures, who do they call to make sure that they are preserved properly?
So I would like to say ASA, Assyrian Studies Association, we have an archive, and this film came my way in particular from Annie Elias out of San Jose. And Annie had lost her dad, and she was cleaning out his belongings and found 2 reels of film. And she had it digitized. And to her surprise, there was this Assyrian film that Agajan Baba had filmed to promote his printing press. And we have since found it advertised in his Chronicle and in the Assyrian Star years later to raise money, that it was being shown throughout the U.S. to raise money. Well, this film, and Agajan Baba came to New York, he came to Yonkers. He filmed people coming out of churches, at picnics, dances. He went into people's homes. He went into people's businesses, basically to show what Assyrians were up to. And what makes this artifact so incredibly special and precious is that it captures so many of our survivors being resilient and enjoying their lives in the United States. And yet they were all retaining their own culture. All right. So all of these events are somehow tied to their culture. And Aga John Baba even has Elmwood Cemetery. He filmed the opening of the Assyrian section of Elmwood Cemetery in Chicago. And so Annie Elias, when she had it digitized, she found out that one of the street signs was located in Yonkers. She Googled Assyrians in Yonkers, and my book came out. It had just been published. So she ordered it, waited for it, and she recognized the Reverend Benjamin from the book in the film. She didn't know that he was my great-grandfather. So she Googled me, and she got my school email. And I received this email from a woman in California saying, I'm an Assyrian. I have this film. I recognize the Reverend Benjamin. Would you like to see it? Of course, I couldn't wait to see it. So I watched this film that night and in the early morning as soon as I could. And to my surprise, I saw my father in it at the age of 12. My great aunt, who opened a business, which was so rare for women at the time. And I got to see inside her store as she's making a sale. But what I also noticed, even in Philadelphia, you could see the people from New Jersey, the Assyrians from New Jersey, that I actually recognize as my grandparents' friends. And I started to recognize them in Philly as well. And so I think that people actually traveled to some of these events because they knew that John would be there. And so it's such a great selection of people and events. So I didn't mention also Elizabeth, New Jersey had a large community of Assyrians. That's also filmed. Just wonderful scenes. And so then Annie and I applied for a grant through ASA, and we started to travel to identify people in it. So we're taking excerpts from that film as well. I only did some film shots because it will be up as a ASA site where we actually will have pages for people that you can go to. And we've been working on this for a while. COVID put a little crimp in our plan, but we will have some of the screenshots and we will have the film. It's a silent film running at the exhibit. So it's very exciting.
It is. It sounds very exciting. And, as you talk about your experience from, Yonkers and the Midwest and Chicago, Dr. Ariane Shaya will, she, like you, is a published author, and her research and her book concentrates on the Central Valley, where is the venue of this exhibition. And it is very exciting. I'm familiar with the Dr. Isaac Adams story, the Reverend Dr. Isaac Adams story. What an incredible pioneer he was. He was a settler. He was so ahead of his times. He was a visionary. And I am so excited that there is continuity. And I've met his granddaughter and his great granddaughter as well. For them to be involved in this project and tie it all in together is so exciting. And I'm hoping that other Assyrians, whether they will see this online, AGN will cover it. We're happy to be there and cover it. But also as it is on social media, just like you said, if someone wants to look something up connected to their heritage, it's so important to archive all of this. It's so important to collect and have this collection of videos, these old videos, whether they are being archived, they're being digitized, or they are shown temporarily in exhibits. I would like to check with Erin, Dr. Hughes, on the importance of getting the word out that this is taking place, to make sure our local papers cover it, to make sure, for example, I understand Assemblyman Heath Flora has been invited and he will be attending. I spoke with his district manager. It's an honor because Assemblyman Heath Flora really has been a champion for Assyrian causes to help. He's an assemblyman, he does his own thing, but it makes a difference when all this advocacy and all this education of this base, of this population of the Assyrians. And yes, we talk about genocide. Yes, we talk about, this population, increasing population diaspora, but we're also including resiliency through telling our stories. And this is why it's so exciting, Dr. Hughes. So when this comes to a closing on August 7th, what other projects do you anticipate that the Sargis Modern Assyrian Heritage can continue to work on to really elevate this project that Francis Sargis has started?
That's such a great question. And my answer is one I have probably given, to other people I've talked to, and has been delayed because of COVID, but I think has really been made more transparent through this. And this is kind of incredible collection of stories, and also whole collecting more, and an effort to really take a histories of Assyrians in the Central Valley and kind of build upon Dr. Ariana Shaya's work, to continue that history and to continue those family histories and those legacies, and to really document the experience of Assyrians in the Central Valley, both those who fled genocide, but also in modernity, those who have come, for work and opportunity here, who came here, more recently from Iraq or Syria or Iran, or who came here from Chicago even, just, to really capture the diversity and the vibrancy of the community here in the Central Valley. So that's really where we would love to take that, and to kind of use this as a stepping stone to continue that focus on telling our stories, and to really, like I said, highlight the experience of Assyrians in the Central Valley. And like you said, the fact that, Heath Floor, who represents the area, has brought forward genocide recognition. Representative Josh Harder in Congress has done the same thing at that level. And, the reach and the importance of the community. And I remember when I met you in person, Carmen, it was a primary day, and you were showing me, ballots in Assyrian, which I think this is the only place in America that happens. And, to show what an important part the Assyrian community is to this community, or to this area. So we really continue to hope to elevate those stories and share those stories.
Thank you, Dr. Hughes. We use the word diversity a lot, but I just loved what you said, vibrancy.
Yes.
I think that's what we really should be using for the Assyrian community. We are a vibrant community. Wherever we settle, we acculturate very quickly. We get to work, we become business owners, we become entrepreneurs. And I don't have to tell you, but at Stan State, we know there is a very large population of students seeking higher education. So thank you, all of you, for being here today. In closing, I would like to give each and every one of you an opportunity to let our viewers know, as not only a promotion of this exhibition, but in an invitation. Kathy, let's begin with you. You are such an advocate when it comes to Assyrian stories. Tell us very briefly, in a few words, why should people drive to come see this exhibition?
I would say in this case, my comments are directed more to the younger people who know so little about this. Their great-grandchildren now or farther. This gives them an opportunity to see exactly what their great-grandparents or earlier went through, and their story. They're living in this country now, these young people. There you can draw a direct line from those survivors to these young people to see. I think the thing that matters to me personally in this, and I hope this message goes out to those who may want to see the exhibit, thinking about it, is that this is the way we have to do these people proud, to really show that we took the time here 100 years later to show how important this was to us, to our community, how important it was to us to show to other communities. And to show these younger people, this is your history. This is your heritage. Look where your families came from. And just take some afternoon. If you have a couple hours, please come on over and see this. I think that once you see it, you're going to just feel very proud of what your ancestors were made of to get all of us this far. Thanks, Carmen.
Thank you, Kathy. Very well put. So articulate. Dr. Ruth Kambar, what are your closing comments when it comes to the work that you passionately have done and continue to do to promote this very important event coming up in Turlock?
I think that people should come out to see not just people's stories, the history, but the actual documentation of it. And so we will have films, we will have oral histories, not just all items in print for people to see. Come and hear the actual voices of survivors, of their children, and how they learned about their parents' experiences. It's all there. And we have some films. Even David Armstrong is looking to turn his book into a mini series. Come and see his promo and hear him speak and listen to the scholars, because they're all people who have gathered this information for you to teach you about the Assyrians, the Assyrian experience, but also to keep our voice strong. So that vibrancy cannot exist if we're a silenced people. This exhibition is a way of making our voices heard.
Thank you very much. Being the voice for the voiceless and making sure that our voice is heard. In closing, Dr. Hughes, um, I can't tell you how proud I am of your work and CSU Stanislaus with such leadership, and to bring everybody together and to be the host of this exhibition and to include the local community, to listen to us, to find out what it is that we can contribute. That means a lot. In closing, what would you like to share regarding your role and regarding what we can expect to see at this exhibition that Kathy and Erin didn't tell us about?
Oh, I don't know how I can possibly build upon Ruth and Kathy's closings. Those were just so beautifully articulate. I mean, I think exactly to the point they said, the goal of the Ottomans were that these stories would not exist. There would be no people alive to tell these stories. And so the fact that, Kathy and Hannibal and Ruth have done such a tremendous job, curating and collecting these histories so that we can share them, so that we can make this history visible. It's our honor to be able to have a space to share that. It's our privilege to do so. So yeah, exactly to that point. We hope that Assyrians and non-Assyrians alike come, because it's such an important history. It's an important Assyrian history, but it's an important human history. And that's really why it matters.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful collaboration. And we all, when we collaborate, important things happen. So we at AGN will cover this exhibition from opening to close, and we will promote it. And we hope that the word gets out that more Assyrians can bring their friends and neighbors and coworkers to bring a better understanding about our culture, heritage, and history, and our vibrancy, as you put it. Thank you so much. In closing, I would like to thank each and every one of you for all you do. Every person learning from what you do can find a way to contribute, can find a way to learn more about who they are and their heritage and their identity. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you.
In closing, I'd like to let our viewers know that we will have the program of this very much anticipated Assyrian Genocide exhibition on AGN. Follow us on social media throughout the exhibition, the duration of it, and please be interactive. Find out where you can get more information. And if you can drive or fly to be here, please do so. This is a very limited exhibition that will take place at CSU Stanislaus in Turlock. My name is Carmen Morad, and I will see you on the next Modern Assyrian.